everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we are tackling a topic that is absolutely exploding in popularity, but honestly, it's often completely misunderstood. We're talking about e-bike safety. Today, we're going to do a highly practical reality check breakdown of exactly what it takes to ride, store, and maintain an e-bike safely. Whether you're a daily commuter or just a weekend trail rider, this is essential information that could literally save your life.
To kick things off, I want to ask you a question that challenges a really common assumption. Are e-bikes just heavy bicycles? Well, the short answer is absolutely not. I know it's super tempting to think of them as traditional acoustic bikes that just give you a little helpful push up a hill, but they are completely different machines. E-bikes are significantly heavier, they are vastly faster, and they are powered by complex, highly volatile lithium-ion chemical systems. Because of all that, they require a totally different approach to safety than that standard bicycle sitting in your garage right now. Okay, let's dive into this and look at our roadmap for today. We're moving from the physics of riding to the chemistry of the garage. We'll be covering 1. Mastering speed and weight. 2. Rules of the road. 3. The lithium-ion threat. 4. Safe charging. And 5. The pre-ride checklist. Section 1. Mastering speed and weight. So the added mass and motorized momentum of an e-bike completely changes the physics of your ride. You really have to adapt your riding style to match it. When we contrast analog bikes with e-bikes, the first major difference you're going to notice is the stopping distance. Carrying all that extra motorized weight at higher speeds means your stopping distance is greatly increased. You need to anticipate your stops and start squeezing those brakes way earlier than you normally would. Also, traditional caliper or rim brakes, they just do not offer enough stopping power for these heavy machines. E-bikes fundamentally require disc brakes to safely hold all that extra momentum. To really wrap our heads around that momentum, let's bust some industry jargon and look at the 3 legal classes of e-bikes. Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes both cap out at 20 miles per hour, and Class 2 even gives you a throttle so you don't have to pedal at all. But Class 3, that's a different beast entirely. They provide pedal assist all the way up to 28 miles per hour. Think about that for a second. When you're moving at almost 30 miles per hour on an exposed frame, you are essentially traveling at moped or scooter speeds, and that drastically alters your overall risk profile. And because of those higher scooter-like speeds, institutional experts heavily recommend upgrading your protective gear. The Naval Postgraduate School, for example, strongly recommends MIPS helmets. MIPS stands for Multidirectional Impact Protection System. Since you're traveling at speeds up to 28 miles per hour, standard foam helmets just aren't enough anymore. MIPS technology is specifically designed to reduce rotational impacts, and studies suggest this can significantly lower your risk of concussions and traumatic brain injuries. All right, Section 2, Rules of the Road. When you take an e-bike onto the street, the law sees you as a vehicle. That means you must obey all traffic signals, stop signs, and lane rules, just like a car. And because you're mixing with much larger vehicles, defensive riding is absolutely paramount. You've got to scan 12 to 15 seconds ahead of your path and stay hyper-aware of blind spots. Oh, and please, no stunts. Doing wheelies on an e-bike is incredibly dangerous because the mass and speed dramatically increase crash forces. But maybe the most unique e-bike hazard is accidental motor engagement. Paint this visceral scenario in your head for a second. You're cornering on a wet road covered in slippery autumn leaves, and you accidentally bump the throttle or turn the pedals. The motor instantly kicks on, dumping a ton of torque into the wheel, and you wipe out before you even know what hit you. So the crucial point is getting into the habit of powering down to pedal assist level 0 the very second you stop riding or when you're parking. It's a simple 2-second habit, but it ensures that if you, or maybe someone just walking past, accidentally bumps that throttle lever, the motor won't suddenly launch this incredibly heavy bike forward into traffic or a pedestrian.
Section 3. The lithium-ion threat. We're moving from the road to the garage now, raising the stakes to talk about the volatile chemistry actually powering these machines. You might have heard the technical term thermal runaway, so let's clear up exactly what that means. Thermal runaway is an uncontrollable, self-heating chemical reaction inside a battery cell. The truly terrifying part is that this reaction generates its own oxygen, leading to an explosive fire. So what actually triggers this catastrophic failure? It can be physical impact, like dropping the battery, water ingress that corrodes the internal circuit board, or using cheap, unbranded aftermarket cells that don't have proper internal safeguards. I need to deliver a stark warning here. When an e-bike battery enters thermal runaway, it burns at extreme temperatures, frequently exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius.
Because it generates its own oxygen, you cannot easily extinguish it with a standard fire extinguisher or a heavy blanket. And those high-end fireproof battery bags you see online, they will not stop the fire. They are only designed to contain the shrapnel and buy you a few precious minutes to evacuate and call 911.
And this brilliantly illustrates why your purchasing decisions matter so much. Buying strictly UL-certified gear is your absolute best defense against battery fires. You want to look for UL 2849, which means the entire electrical system, the motor, the controller, and the battery, has been rigorously tested together for fire and shock hazards. Alternatively, UL 2271 certifies that the battery pack itself has passed strict drop, overcharging, and puncture tests. Never buy an uncertified cheap aftermarket battery. The risk is just way too high.
But even with good batteries, you have to know the physical warning signs of a compromised pack. If you ever notice the plastic or metal casing starting to swell or bulge, if the battery feels extremely hot when it's not even being used, if you smell a sweet or chemical odor like acetone, or if you hear hissing, popping, or crackling sounds, stop immediately. Isolate the battery pack outdoors, far away from anything flammable, and absolutely do not attempt to charge it.
Section 4. Safe Charging and Storage. Now, I want to empower you with some highly practical, actionable steps to manage this battery chemistry safely, right inside your own home. Here is a life-saving 4-step charging recipe you should follow every single time. 1. Let the battery cool down for 30 to 60 minutes after a ride before you plug it in. 2. Place it on a hard, non-flammable surface like concrete or tile, never on a couch or a bed. 3. Use only the original charger provided by the manufacturer. And 4. Unplug the battery the very moment the light turns green. I cannot stress this enough. Strongly guard against the dangers of unattended charging. Never leave your e-bike battery charging overnight while you're sleeping.
And when the weather turns cold, your storage habits need to change too. For winter storage, keep the battery indoors at a comfortable 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit and leave it with a 40 to 70% charge. You should never leave your battery outside in freezing temperatures. The cold can cause a permanent loss of capacity. Plus, if you try to charge a freezing cold battery, it causes something called lithium plating inside the cells. This creates internal short circuits and becomes a massive fire hazard.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5. The pre-ride checklist. Before you get back in the saddle, taking 60 seconds to run through these final safety protocols is an absolute must. The quickest way to check your bike is by remembering the ABCs. A is for air, check your tire pressure. B is for brakes, squeeze the levers to make sure they feel firm and engaged before hitting the handlebar. C is for chain, ensure it's clean and lubricated. And finally, perform the drop test. Just pick the bike up 1 or 2 inches from the ground and drop it. Listen carefully. Any new rattles or vibrations? That means a bolt likely vibrated loose on your last ride, and you need to tighten it before heading out. Well, we have covered a ton of ground today, from the heavy physics of stopping at 28 miles per hour to the volatile chemistry of lithium-ion cells. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative question to reflect on. Is your e-bike charging safely right now? Think about exactly where your battery is, what surface it's resting on, and whether the charger is still plugged in. Take these tips, reflect on your own habits, and please, ride and charge responsibly. Thanks for joining me, and stay safe out there.